Hi guys, so this is GBP USD. I actually inverted my chart. I prefer seeing markets in a sell position. It makes sense to me, but the actual view is to the upside. Also, just going back to here, this is the 1 minute by the way, if you're wondering. Initially, I think last night there were some people waiting for GBP USD to sell in a community I'm in. So I basically called a sell when market was around here. And I said, I think people waiting for GBP USD, it's about to sell. You might want to have a look at the market. Of course, the market did sell. I took a picture when I called that trade, which is what I'm going to show you now. And I had this area highlighted as potential support zone where, one might want to exit the trade and see what market is doing if there might be a potential reversal occurring. Now, going back to the pictures that I took, so this is the first picture I took. This is when I called the trade, as you can see. And then I again announced in the group that if they had sold here, like I had called out last night, they could have collected profits here. Now, look at the distance market traveled overnight, basically. And while I saw this as well, I could also see there's a potential channel to the upside forming. So anyone who could have taken a trade, if they are able to identify patterns, they would probably know that they should either collect all their profits or at least partial profits to see what market is going to do. And this is it basically. And then I was watching this. The funny thing is I didn't actually take this trade because I started watching something I wanted to eat. And I didn't know how long it was going to take to do what it needed to do. Basically, I had just woken up when I saw market doing around this zone. So I wasn't just so with it. I just took my screenshot, went to make me something to drink, and market ended up doing this. If I go to the 1 minute, which when I see a potential channel or pattern that might play out, I go to the 1 minute for an early entry. So I saw this happening. If I had seen this on time, what I do is I would enter two positions because there's no guarantee that market will break out this area. Like I said, this chart is inversed. There's no guarantee market will break out this area. So what I usually do is I enter, at least two positions, right? Now, some people would have gotten in here, right? But because I'm able to actually recognize what this pattern is doing, I would have basically got in here slightly earlier and then wrote it down. And then when market hit this trend line, I would have closed one position and I called that my buffer trade. And then while I entered here, I would now set my other position either in break even, which would be here, or in stop loss, maybe somewhere above here, or even in minor profit. But I do that so that if I set it in stop loss, if market doesn't break this channel and goes back up, right, and it closes me in negative stop loss, the buffer trade that I took, the pips that I caught, would cover that minor loss that I just got from this trade, right? So that's what I do. But if I set it at break even, then I wouldn't have lost any pips, but I just wouldn't have gained anything from that trade. And if I set it minor profit, then obviously it's still minor anyway. But yeah, this is how I try and like cover myself to be able to have a negative stop loss if I want it and still be okay with my negative stop loss. Because most of my trades, when I get in pretty early in the 1 minute, market usually works in my favor at least for a while and then either continues on or reverses on me. And if it does, and then what I would do is collect partial profit and very early and then see what the final trade does and ride with that if it works in my favor. If it doesn't work in my favor, I still didn't lose money because my buffer trade covers me either way. So I hope that makes sense to you. Figuring out how to make your entry on the 1 minute, like go from the 4 hour to the 1 hour, spot a breakdown or breakup channel in the 4 hour, the 1 hour, then go to the 5 minutes and the 1 minute. So obviously my theory is this will continue on, but nothing is guaranteed with markets. So I just basically try and play as safe as possible. The only thing I know is that I managed to find really good entries in the 1 minute, so much so that market always gives me some pips from the start, right? And then either reverses on me or continues on me. But if it reverses on me, there's some pips that I caught, guys, that covers me. So I call it my buffer trade. So this is how I trade basically. So let me go to the 5 minutes and invert the chart to the right way that it should be, which is to the upside. So I'm expecting market to get here. Let me delete this because this was from the sell downside. So yep. So I'm expecting further upside, guys. But we shall see if it fully plays out, because essentially some people are supposedly waiting for a bigger downside for GBP USD. At the moment, this channel is, indicating some upside to come. And if I had paid attention when I had woken up properly, I could have gotten in at my very much ideal entry on the 1 minute, guys. So I hope you've been able to understand my method of getting in on a trade. You see, this is a zone. When I see market in this zone, if I was paying attention, then I would have now looked in the 1 minute for how to now get in. So don't just look at the 1 minute anyhow. It's best to look at the 1 minute at certain zones. So a lot of things have to match up first. Well, not a lot, but a few things have to match up first. So as you can see, market did go an up move. If I had entered this trade, I would have entered here in the 1 minute view according to how I trade. This is inverted in the right direction, by the way, so no inversion, I guess. I would consider collecting profits here or partial profits. Now, if you recognize pattern, you would have known that there's a potential this pattern would have played out. I recognize patterns. So yeah, as you can see, this would have been a profitable trade had I got my senses right in time and gotten on my ideal entry zone. I know some people would have gotten in here, but if I don't get in exactly how I want to get in, I'm like that perfectionist, especially when it comes to your money. You have to be really careful. Getting in where I need to get in allows me to have my buffer trade or my buffer pips to gain those. So if I miss that, there's a potential if the market moves against me, everything, my whole trading plan is messed up. Do you know what I mean? So I stick to my plan and it's working out for me so far. So far, any trade that I've lost, I have had a buffer trade to cover it, which means technically overall on that particular trade, I didn't lose. I either gained a little bit or I gained a lot. And that's because I make a very good entry. Everything has to line up first, guys. So if you like this content, please do like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Show me some love. Take care. Thanks for watching.